Salvete, mihi nomen est, Stella, et hoc est, Batgirl the Oracle, the Barbara Gordon podcast, episode 231 for March MMXXIII. Batgirl the Oracle is brought to you by MileHighComics.com, your new and collectible comic book store. Mile High Comics has an inventory of over 5 million comics from the gold, silver, bronze, and modern age, and over 100,000 trade paperbacks. If you're not into the vintage stock, Mile High Comics also has a subscription service called the New Issue Comics Express, offering a discounted price for comics right to the shelves. So if you're looking for vintage back issues or a great modern subscription service, be sure to check out milehighcomics.com. Well, it is 80 degrees. It is March 23rd. I'm upset. I feel like got one snowfall. It happened, was it last Sunday or 2 Sundays ago? There was some snow coming down. It seemed heavy, but it wasn't sticking. And I just did not get the dumping that I wanted. So I am upset about that. It's too warm for my liking, but here we are. We're just going to have to move on and make do with what Mother Nature is doing, but it's all our fault because of global warming and all of that. Well, I will, as an intro, talk to you briefly about this CW show called Gotham Knights. Now, I was unaware of Gotham Knights until the good professor, my chief Tata correspondent, Carolyn Coca, spoke about this and was going to spend her day watching this. And I thought, what is this? I thought, oh, is she watching a stream, a full stream, as if it were a movie of the video game? But no, it's a TV show on the CW. This is the first time hearing of it. I didn't see a trailer. I didn't watch a trailer. She did send me a review article. And just from that, I thought this sounds like it's trash. So she asked, which was delightful. She asked, would you like to hate watch this with me? And so last weekend, got together on Zoom and we watched the pilot episode of Gotham Knights. Now, going into it, I think we both expected it to be bad, bad, bad. And it was gonna be painful and we are gonna make fun of it and have fun in that way. But we both came away saying that it wasn't as bad as we originally thought it was going to be, but it's not good. And I think it's not going to last more than one season. In fact, it might only already be canceled given other stuff that's going on with DC and HBO and all of that stuff. So, if I were to talk about the positives, it is nice to see some of these characters like Carrie Kelly's in there, and she is Robin. 70 Brown's in there. Harper Row is in there. Batman dies, so Batgirl dies. That could be seen as a positive. There are some nods and mentions to things like Burnside is mentioned, Olive Silverlock is mentioned, which is something that Carolyn had said, Professor Coca, she said that, should have just done the Gotham Academy. And I'm like, absolutely. Who wouldn't want to see a live action Maps Miyazaki? I really liked Harper Row. I think that character was spot on. I was concerned because I was mixing up Harper with Duella, and Duella was saying this stuff in a jail cell. And I thought, oh my gosh, this isn't Harper, right? But it was Duella. But just this person who is really intelligent, cares for her brother. All the beats seemed great for her. I was immediately engaged with that character. And even her brother Cullen seemed like, oh yeah, we're getting this idea, trans masculine or trans male character, which is great and protected by Harper, but also really like wanting to step out on his own and not be protected by his big sister, which are, I guess, are twins, but I think Harper certainly acts like the elder of the two. So I felt like that was a great characterization as well. I did not like Duella. It was just too much. It was edgy, like really trying to do edgy, but she was just annoying. And at first I thought, well, they're probably going to make this lead character, whatever his name is, and Stephanie get together because they've known each other for a while. She knew him before he was adopted by Bruce, but then the interactions between Duella and this guy, I'm like, well, probably there's going to be some sort of hate sex relationship going on between those two. I'm sure we're supposed to ship them. So I did not like Duella. Stephanie could be okay, question mark. I mean, it's great to see Stephanie, but I don't know what her potential is because she just very much played the Barbara Gordon role, running the op, being in the chair. And so if you're going to do that, why not just have Barbara Gordon? If she is just playing that kind of armchair hero, does that mean she doesn't deserve to be trained? It just seems like there are a lot of characters and maybe too much. And then we get to the lead character, who is probably an audience stand-in. And I don't know if I've spoken about the recent Mortal Kombat film, but they made an audience stand-in for that film, which was unnecessary because if you have a, a great cast of characters and for anything really, why are you not using that? Why do you have to make somebody up? And yes, exposition, that kind of helps, which is one of the reasons why you kind of need Duella, because she knows the underworld, so she is able to offer some information, but still don't like her. But this guy is just like, he's a dud. He's asking dumb questions. I'm looking at this guy and he just seems like washed out with, even though the background's really dark. And at one point I said to the professor, I said, I think this guy could be in Twilight. He looks like a Cullen. He's Edward Cullen. I did not like him. I don't know that, if I continue to watch this, maybe, I don't know. I don't know that I'll ever really get into him. I just find it extremely unnecessary to make up a character when you could have just had Dick Grayson or somebody else in there. You have so many people. So we'll see what happens there. Maybe I'll get information from the professor. Maybe I'll watch it on my own. But I don't highly recommend it. I don't know if I necessarily recommend it at all. If you're a completionist, I guess give it a shot. If you like Carrie Kelly, I think probably that show will do her justice. I mean, to have a Robin and the Robin be a girl and that be the only capable fighter. So I imagine that she's going to be the leader because I don't know how you can have this dud be the leader, but she'll probably be training the other people, I imagine. And the mutants, yeah. So it's an interesting like continuity with all of these people. Pre Two-Face, Harvey Dent. There's no Jim Gordon. I don't know what's going on. It's very confusing. Maybe give it a watch. But yes. So yay Harper. Yay Carrie Kelly, and boo for the guy whose name I can't even remember, which is funny because Ian Prime even said his name on a tweet because we had tweeted about this, and he said, or whatever his name is. And see, I can't even remember. That's how forgettable he is. So there you go. I also want to say that Batgirls is canceled with issue 19, and I'm about to review issue 16. So we have 4 to go, counting the one that I'm going to be doing shortly. Is this shocking? I suppose not. I don't know that it was like a home run with fans. And who even knows? I think the big question remained, what was the audience? Because I think people had an idea of what the audience was, but I don't know that it was written for that particular audience. And it was touch and go. And I mean, there were some really good issues. I mean, 14, I think, is the standout, right? I don't know that you can. Did I give that a 10? I may have given it a 9.5. I maybe gave it a 10. I don't know. But that was the best issue of the run for sure. I don't know where these characters go from here. Michael W. Conrad, I think, tweeted at one point and said, he obviously and Becky are going to be doing some individual projects and these characters aren't going away and they'll be in places. I don't know where they're going to be. Barbara's in Nightwing, which is fine, but I feel like she deserves her own title. And Cass and Steph, I think, kind of float around in Detective Comics and we'll see them here and there, but there's not a dedicated book for them now. So just be aware of that. You may have already seen that news because this is a bit later anyways, but there we go. So that's for my intro, I think. That's all I need to say. My Shags Mac and Cheese Comfort and Joy, aka my Find Your Joy segment. Harley Quinn, the television show, the animated series, finally watched it. I wasn't really interested in it. I think I had seen random clips and thought, ooh, this is too much for me. And it is edgy and raunchy at times, but there have been, I would say, several episodes where I stop and rewind it because I am laughing. I wish I could remember a particular one, but I mean, Harley Quinn, she is nuts, and the things that she that she does and goes through. I love seeing Harley and Ivy together. I feel like season two is probably the strongest of the two seasons, which you want, that third season to be really amazing because now you have these two women together and you want to see what that relationship is like. But I felt like that was almost the weakest season. The first one was great because she was getting over the Joker, and then the second one, kind of figuring out that relationship and having really high stakes with what was going on. And then the third one was a bit of a, I don't know. It wasn't it wasn't bad. It just wasn't the strongest, but I did enjoy it. I think Josh said, the Stella of whatever 2010 or something wouldn't have been able to watch it, which is very true. I would not have been able to handle that. I mean, I think she uses a heat gun to oh yeah, she uses a heat gun, Firefly's heat gun, to basically carve a vagina into Mr. Freeze's lair. That was very interesting. I think that was a clip that I had seen before, but out of context, it was like, what's going on here? I love Barbara in it, Batgirl. I think she's great. She is kind of a sad, like losery type because she doesn't have many friends at college. But I feel like she's like spot on and could potentially be me. And the fact that she doesn't swear or anything, I love that. Her father, that's very interesting. He needs to get his act together, which he does. But that relationship is just kind of crazy. And Josh had asked me like who would each of these characters be, and like the friends are like, who is Josh, who is Don? And for Josh, I said Clayface 100%, just because he's like so dramatic and does crazy things and puts on a different persona, and he very much appreciated that answer. I said Don would be Frank, if only because you see little Frank's veggie peach sometimes, and so that's really all I associate Donovan with now is a peach, juicy peach. And me, I said I could potentially be Bane because that Valentine's Day special. Wait a minute, but the Valentine's Day special where he's complaining about online dating, which yeah, that's a whole thing, and people using improper grammar and using like anyways, and he's getting so frustrated. I was like, you know what, that's accurate. I do also get frustrated with improper grammar in real life, whether it's potential romantic interest or not. But then Josh was concerned. He's like, but you saw what happened at the end of that bout. And I was like, yes, I will not be fornicating with any buildings. You can put a stop to it if you must, or if you want to give it a shot. But I do, yes, depending on, I guess, your ability to deal with raunchy things, maybe give it a shot. But it is pretty funny. And oh, one thing I didn't like too much, but it's grown on me a bit, is that Joker runs for mayor and Barbara's there in the crowd, like supporting his politics. I'm like, I do not love that. But then as Joker is speaking, I'm like, well, I kind of appreciate what he's saying about politics as well. So I don't know if I've become a socialist, if I'm social leaning, who even knows? But anyways, yeah. So at least I'm with Babs. I think Babs very much, she seems very similar to me. If I'm not Bane, I'm definitely Babs for sure. So give that a shot. Okay, well, we will move on. I'm actually only doing one issue basically for part one and part two. I do have a couple quickies. They're always Nightwing, aren't they? So I think just two issues of Nightwing. Now, oh, okay. If we remember, Nightwing was recently sexually assaulted on a roof. That was in 93. So here we go, 94 and then 95. So 94, August 2004 cover date. The publisher synopsis says, Road to Nowhere Part 1. Dick Grayson decides to leave Bloodhaven for a while, so he takes to the road with a new partner, the beautiful and deadly Tarantula. I'm shaking my head. But where will this lead, and what does any of it have to do with the venomous Copperhead? So Dick is reeling. This is the problem. Dick is reeling more from the death of Blockbuster, which I agree that should happen, than being sexually assaulted. Like that's not even necessarily on his mind at all. He continues to hang around Tarantula, which, my word, and she is literally hanging out over him. So again, it's just too much. Though this is, I feel like, more from a lack of will to do anything else rather than a desire to stay with her. So he's very numb and zombie-ish, but again, really not addressing that sexual assault. Babs actually calls Dick to report that Blockbuster has been killed. and tells him what gun was used, which is one that's tied to Tarantula. And she tells him that he has to find her if only to clear her name, but he doesn't respond. So, very awkward issue, to be honest. And I can't even overstate like the level of sexiness that they are putting on Tarantula and all of this stuff that's going on. It's very, I don't know. It's portraying her almost like a predator because it's just this guy that's like numb to everything and not doing anything like active or proactive, just like walking around and she's all over him. It made me very uncomfortable, to be honest. Then we have Nightwing 95, September 2004 cover date, Road to Nowhere Part 2. And now that I'm reading that title again, it reminds me of the Crash Bandicoot. Very tough level called Road to Nowhere. The first one, you should look it up. The world is still spinning for Dick Grayson following the shocking events of his world blockbuster. Will he get his head together in time to save his new partner from certain death, or will Tarantula take the venom of Copperhead? And again, that solicit doesn't even talk about, it's just about Blockbuster. It's not talking about, oh, when he was raped. So Tarantula, oh my gosh, I forgot about this. Probably want to black it out. Yes, Tarantula and Dick are about to get married. I mean, why? Why has this book taken this direction? I mean, this is all so very wrong. She's again all over him in this issue. She's basically like one of those villains who somehow convinces the hero to have a fun time with, lots of sexual innuendo. And, no one understands or knows the hero like they do. I think kind of like, or I think of Elektra and Daredevil and the Netflix show to a certain extent. There's a scene I've seen from Supernatural where Jared Padalecki's character and his wife in real life have the sexy time because she convinces him to do that in a very tarantula sort of way. But I think she's also, I've never watched that show. I've seen like clips and episodes, and there was one thing I saw and I was like, I can't do this. But anyways, I think she's a demon and he's like disgusted with her. But yeah, they have the sexy time, so it's very bizarre. So that's all I basically kind of connected to. And then Dick gets a call from Batman saying that there's some stuff going down, which I assume we're leading into war games. Fortunately, unfortunately, you decide, we'll decide later and soon. And Dick is like super happy, I guess, because there was a great concern. It was a very strange scene, but there was a concern, obviously, on Dick's part that the killing, like he's going to be rejected. He failed Batman. Batman's going to drop him. So maybe it was like, oh, well, Batman hasn't dropped me. And so I haven't failed him. And that's why he's happy. Or there's a purpose again. He can get away from Tarantula. I, I don't know. It was a strange, strange issue. Okay, we're going to move on to potentially better things, but there's also some weird stuff that goes on here. It's Birds of Prey. And this is 68. And if we see the cover, we have this nondescript guy. And the ladies are hanging all over him. Well, I guess that's not true. Huntress is hanging over him, which that should have given me an indication and a clue as to what was going to go on in this particular issue. And then you have the other ladies. I think in this instance, hashtag Carolyn does not know because you can, in fact, see parts, basically equal parts of all the ladies' legs. So that's good. Now, I did think actually that this was Ted Cord when we were going. I just thought, oh, Ted Cord issue. It's not Ted Cord. It's some guy that we had seen before, and I thought we were done with him, but we're not. So here we go. Birds of Prey, number 68, August 2004 cover date. One day, well chosen. Writer Gail Simone, penciler Joe Bennett, inker Rui Jose. Sorry, I had to look at how I was pronouncing that. Colorist Hi-Fi. And this comes from the Wikipedia entry. Yes. Okay. The birds are out together, taking a day off. Helena Bertinelli and Barbara Gordon get into an argument, and Helena ends up leaving. Dinah Laurel Lance drops off Barbara at James Gordon's place, and the two Gordons have a father-daughter dinner at a sushi place, and he offers her some advice. On the JLA satellite, Wonder Woman and Black Canary start a sparring session. Remember, Black Canary has really been getting into the training. Wonder Woman tells Canary that if she can get past the Amazon's defenses, Wonder Woman owes her a favor. But if she can't breach Wonder Woman's defenses, then Canary joins the JLA. And Canary does manage to get through Wonder Woman's defenses, and they call an end to the sparring and kind of helps her work some things out as well. Once Dinah gets back together with Babs after the Gordon dinner, Barbara ends up bringing her to a shop that she's purchased or leased, and it can be a flower shop. So the intention is that she wants the birds basically to have two lives. She wants them to have a hero life as well as a life. And so this is her start for that. And then Huntress goes on a date with a guy named Josh. You remember Josh? Where she owed him that date because he gave her some information. And it's a very bizarre date because she's like, okay, I'll wear this costume, we'll go out, no touching. And then we see that she is doing some Batman tactics and dropping him from a building as if that's a way to stop the date from happening. And then it a tarantula sort of way, but there is like innuendo, and he's really as if he were a guy at a bar, I suppose, and really trying to hit up the girl. And you think that this was probably not going to work, obviously, for Huntress. She's too good for this, but she does end up sleeping with him. So we'll talk about that. And then but her mask stays on, which I think was one of those New 52 issues at the very beginning. The mask stayed on, but the costume stayed on. Can't remember. And at the very end, Helena gets a call while she's still in bed with Josh that there is a new mission and she is about to be a teacher. So, okay. Well, oh my gosh. My first comment is, in fact, WTF. What is Dino wearing? Well, I guess one could call it a crop top, but I feel like nothing is left to the imagination. And all the ladies are well endowed. Luckily, which I don't know what that says. I don't know. Like, what's going on here? So, is this characterization that, oh, yes, that's Babs? She's just going to dress kind of frumpy-ish. Her legs are completely covered. She has on a t-shirt. I don't love the color. She has flats. I don't love the color coordination of her outfit. But then we have Dinah over here showing lots of skin and the boobages. And then we have Helena, which is kind of in between, but it's mostly tasteful dress, I guess. It's like halfway up the thigh and got some cleavage there. So she is in between, I would say, Dinah and Babs. But I don't know what that says about Barbara. I mean, if that's a character choice, that's one thing, but is it all, are you also subliminally telling us something about people in wheelchairs that, they can't dress attractively? So interesting. That meaty Brian type. Let's see. Some of these I have some. Oh, yes. Okay. There is a typo. Sorry. I was like, I don't even know what that means. So Don at one point says, okay, Babs, don't think I don't appreciate the change in scenery, but what's on that meaty Brian of yours? And I'm pretty sure I did look at it because sometimes dyslexia does happen. I have my moments. It should have been brain, but it does say meaty Brian. I love the fact that Babs, how quickly she has acclimated to Helena in particular. But she says, hey, can a shadowy mastermind take her two favorite agents for a well deserved day off from being shot at and beaten up? So Helena has come far. She's certainly risen through the ranks of private opinion, I guess, on Barbara's terms very quickly. The Wiener Station guy thought Dinah was Power Girl. My thought was, I wonder why. Guy thought I was Power Girl. I should have belted him. I mean, I'm looking at what you're wearing, Dinah, so that could be the reason why that's happening. There are something. So this whole sort of get together is, I think, really creating a foundation for this team. It's no pressure, time, where we've got two agents in the field. We have Babs who is running ops. They're just enjoying time out, but it's time to like let's debrief and how can we have a strong, capable, efficient team. And so she offers up, time for each of them to say something. At one point, who says this here? I'm pretty sure it was Dinah. No, I guess it was Babs. We've had to make some rough decisions in the field, which is just poor management. And she does say before that we've been under the gun nonstop for some time now, which is what I had said. But it's interesting that she says that, making decisions in the field is poor management. I feel like that is, I don't agree with that statement because I think a team should be prepared for that to occur. You can go in, and definitely I think the birds do, and in particular, Barbara being that leader and being the super intelligent leader that she is, goes in with multiple plans, most likely. But as anyone knows, whether they're in the military or even just like a teacher, for instance, you go in with your plan and anything can happen to make you change and shift gears in the moment. And so I don't think that that is poor management at all. She can have A, B, and C plans, and then somebody comes up or, a guard is on duty who wasn't supposed to be doing it, and then you got to change it. So that was an interesting statement that I didn't agree with. The discussion turns to Savant. Dinah wonders, why isn't he in jail? And Barbara says, I may have made a mistake. It's not a call I'm proud of. We needed his help to nail a much bigger fish. So I made a deal to bring him in a bit, anyways. And I wondered whether it is, as she calls it, a mistake, or would she undoubtedly do it again? And I think with Barbara, and we've seen in this particular run that she has been doing some questionable things, that is probably something she would do. There was no alternative. Again, she had probably plans A, B, and C, and things happened in the field that she did not foresee. She had to make that judgment call. So I feel like it's not a mistake. I think she should call it something like, "That was a judgment call that I had to make, and I would make it again, and yes, we need to be careful of him, but this is what we're dealing with now. You can't change it. It's just as it is." Um, I do like that Helena actually she goes for it, and she tries to clear the air about sleeping with Nightwing, which is pretty bold. "I didn't know you dot, 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 and second, you weren't together at the time, right?" Question mark. But she which is interesting because, again, we're on this and even Dinah says, "Ixnay on the Nightwing nay, Helena." And Barbara does get upset, and I think we're just in this era, and this is seems to be a theme with this, and I disagree with some people who believe that, yeah, she would be upset at Helena at being, sleeping with Nightwing, which I agree she does not like it, but I don't think that's like a primary motivating factor for her to dislike her as much as she did. But it is good if we're starting this new era in this team and really wanting to be a team in all facets of that word, then yes, we need to clear the air. So good on Helena. But Barbara's words are certainly harsh, right? We're not together anymore. You ever want to be part of a cheap, meaningless little one night stand again? Be my guest. And then it just, yeah. Helena does talk about being a teacher, which I appreciated. And this is something that Tom and I have actually discussed. She says school administrators take a dim view of teachers who miss days and then show up with broken bones and black eyes, and now no school will touch me. And that was something that she said, more than anything in my life, I want to be a teacher. So I think Helena might not be going about this in the right way, but I think that I certainly have a lot of empathy for her in these moments here where she's trying to own up to her behavior and also show the birds who she is. And also I feel like Helena is being slut shamed to a certain extent. Dinah says, what happened, it's history. And then Dinah said, or did I just say that right? Dinah says what happened, it's history. And Barbara says, yeah, Dinah, it's history. Did she mention to you that she slept with Arsenal recently? And that gets Dinah upset. So Barbara, I feel like that was inappropriate to do. she's just trying to get, which, oh my gosh, if you're trying to get the team, this is not the way to go about it. And it's like, is this really the easy way to get to Babs, is to say something about Dick and then she goes off and is a completely different character? I don't know what I think about, and I don't think I like it that that is how Barbara is portrayed, that it's just that one string you can pull and she turns into this Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde sort of situation. But yeah, it just seems like, I feel like Dinah sleeps around. Um, Barbara, not so much. I was She's not portrayed as sleeping around. I'm sure she's had relations with Jason Bard and, other people. But, all of a sudden Helena is like all these people that she's slept with are being brought to the fore. And it seems like there's a negative connotation there. So it's unfortunate. I did enjoy the talk between Babs and Jim. He's relating his life to, she's relating his life to the ladies. But he says, if you really want to help your friends, find some way to remind them that they have to build a life outside of the uniform. And so she takes that with her, and I think that that's really strong. But it's a good scene. It's just one page really of them talking, but I feel like it's a really strong scene. It is surprising that Babs is the one telling Dinah that they need to give Helena a break, not the other way around, since that is generally the breakdown of roles. And also, Babs was the one who got upset first. So I think we just need to lay off Helena and not try to have this unnecessary drama in this book. And hopefully, this is like the last time we can move on. Let's please do it. We don't need a soap opera here. Let's have these women getting around instead of having catty behavior. Oh, okay, Josh. Yes. Josh, I thought she had that date already. In fact, I remember her saying at one point, quote, I have a date, but here we are. This guy reminds me of Upchuck. Oh my gosh, I forgot about this, where she's trying on all these outfits. My word. Kind of goes through an era of Huntress, or all the eras in Huntress, but just, yeah, a bit nuts. But yeah, this guy reminds me of Upchuck. I don't know if there's a good Upchuck from Daria. His real name is Charles, I guess. But no, he just really kind of looks like him. He acts like him, kind of a giggity giggity sort of way, that guy from Family Guy as well. But, you know, I don't know what she's trying to do, dropping him from the building. You said you wanted the full meal deal. What is that supposed to do? What is the purpose of this? Um, I don't know. She's treating him like a perp, I guess. So it's almost as if this were an interesting dating app between heroes and people who want to be treated like villains. So it's like a kink of some sort. And I don't think he asked for it, but I guess it's a way for her to get him to back down. I don't know. But then OMG and you and WTF, she ends up sleeping with him, which I did not expect at all. And she even says, the goddess is harsh but fair, and maybe after we could. And she says, And then, basically next we see she's waking up in bed with this guy. I don't know where she got that nightie from. Actually, I think it's the sheet. And also, I don't think that gravity is working on the tatas there, but she did keep her mask on. Everything else is gone but her mask. But seriously, why? Why? I love the gesture of Babs giving Donna a space for a flower shop, and included that is time to be away from the squad, which is what Jim Gordon had suggested. And I'm wondering, which we don't really get to see, but I wonder what Babs will do for Helena in that same aspect or regard. And isn't it ironic that as Helena talks about her joy of teaching and her inability to do so because of circumstances, that she ends up on a mission where her identity is in fact a teacher. And those kids, in particular the guys, seem like, we've got a hot teacher there, so this should be fun for a little bit. Wonder Woman at one point mentions that she doesn't know Huntress that well, which I thought was a quizzical statement because they were on the Justice League. They were on JLA together when written by Grant Morrison, right? I mean, I was on the show talking about that with Tom Panarese. Now, can I remember if they went on particular missions together? I cannot tell you that. However, being on a team, you'd think that you would know your teammate a little bit. Um, yes, I think, even if they weren't like best pals, Wonder Woman of all people, I think would probably want to and would definitely get a good idea of who her teammates are and whether she can trust them just in general and on the battlefield. So, very interesting. So this is a one shot, really, an interstitial piece. We're leading up to, gosh, I think like the next arc is like 6 issues or so with all of this. Dark and Dawn, I guess, between Dark and Dawn. So that should be interesting. I would not call this a filler, however. I think it is a conversation between these women and, maybe not necessarily these particular conversations. Let me rephrase. Okay. This is a one shot. It's an interstitial piece, but I don't consider it to be a filler. As a conversation between these women, I think that it needed to happen. Maybe not these particular conversations, especially when we get off track about who slept with whom. The Huntress Josh stuff was definitely unnecessary, and I don't know what we're actually supposed to think of Huntress after that. Like the slut shaming came true. I don't know. I mean, I guess she has the freedom to sleep around. I don't know why we're slut shaming her. But I like that Babs is getting advice from her father, and we continue to circle back to the original team and strong friendship of Oracle and Black Canary. This is very much a reset after, yes, the insanity and all the gun toting and the action and the go, go, go. We're resetting. We are now officially a team. Everyone knows everyone's identities. We need to find a balance between how we work together as a team, whether there is friendship, what your side life is like. And I think that was the purpose of this. And while some conversations were necessary and successful, others might not have been, but I think overall it was a good issue. The art, is pretty, but I have questions about Garbs as well as Gravity and its effect on certain body parts. I'm going to give this 8 out of 10 romps in the sack with Huntress. It's not many people survive those romps, but maybe Josh didn't. I don't know. His head was under the pillow. He might be dead. DED dead. So there you go. Next month, I will be doing a Batgirl story. I think I should have a guest star, and it'll be Batgirl with, I think, Stephanie Brown as Robin, which is exciting. But also, yes, we are getting closer to War Games. I believe that this summer, the summer blockbuster will, in fact, be War Games. So just stay tuned to that. Okay, well, next up and finally on this segment, it is listener emails. I actually don't have any emails this time around, but I do have some comments from the YouTube video. The first comment on part 1 of episode 230 came from me. I said, I made a mistake. The exam was 17 pages long. I don't know why I said 13, which is true. I think I talked about that class that's still nuts. It's still nuts, by the way, and said that the third weekend we had a 13-page exam. It was 17, which seems like I'm exaggerating or lying, but I promise that I'm not. In fact, I could even pull it up and screen share what it looks like. Unfortunately, there's a final exam in that class. I thought maybe we'd be safe from it because there's a portfolio that's due at the end of class. So I thought, oh, final project, no final exam with that. But yes, I don't know if it's going to be 17 pages as well or even more. I don't even want to think about it, but that's a nuts class. Hornacek also wrote and said it wasn't the issue title, but the cover to Batgirl 51 had In the Garden of Good and Evil written on it, which made me think about the 1997 film Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, which is based on a book where a man is put on trial in Savannah, Georgia for the murder of a male prostitute and his lover. Been a while since I saw it, but I didn't remember any similarities to the comic plot you described. Maybe they just liked the title for the cover. Perhaps. I recall that very compelling, I would say title. I've actually never seen that, and I feel like I should watch that film because I do recall that particular title, and you would know better than I whether there are similarities because I do not. Um, I've not seen it. And then finally on that particular part, Shayna, my Earth 2 BFF, writes in and says, Stella, you can have my snow. I have had 4 snowstorms in the last 2 weeks. Please take it. I don't want any more. Listen, I will gladly take that snow from you. I'll take it right now. It's only March 23rd. Please bring it to me. Okay. And then part 2, let's see here. Oh, wow. There are a bunch of comments. I commented again just because I messed up a couple times. Maybe it was, I guess it was my poor attitude when I was recording. But number 1, I said I was remiss not to add to my rant about the Lazarus formula that I think we missed out on what this conversation could have been if he hadn't been quote unquote high. Yes. So I think a lot of this, the discussion in that Batgirls number 15 was the fact that was this the conversation that I was expecting and looking for and what we deserve between Arthur and his daughter? And because if we're under the assumption that he was still insane because of the Lazarus formula, and that's why he was acting that way, then I think we did an opportunity was missed where what would have been like to have this conversation between a clear-headed Arthur and his daughter, and I think that that might have been more poignant and emotional. And then number 2, when in my literature recommendations, I made a distinction between queer romance and I called it regular romance. And so I just wanted to apologize about that. And I said, that's some internalized homophobia right there. I should have said, which I later did, queer versus het romance. And so I am sorry about that. That was just like, it came in there, regular romance versus queer. No, queer romance and het romance. Shayna writes again and says, I recommend Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. If you haven't read that one yet, I think that everything that woman writes is incredible. And I will mention that actually because that's on my literature recommendations this week. Enigma. Oh, I haven't heard from that person in a while. Enigma says, yeah, the writers made sure to have the cheats this issue with Cluemaster. They said that he was both dead for a long period of time and the Lazarus resin was more untested than the one Cass stole last issue. So it set up all that Cluemaster did for this issue and looking at the ending, maybe Arthur recovers, question mark. Then again, he recovered at the end of Batgirl Volume 3 and look where that got him. Hornacek. Hornacek says, maybe it's because I've been watching / playing The Last of Us a lot, but when Stephanie's dad shot her and then tried to, oh gosh, shoot himself, I got some Henry Sam vibes, even though those two are brothers and the shootings of the children have different reasons. That's a good point. Yeah, like what have I done sort of thing. Yeah, absolutely. Because in the moment, for both of those situations, it was like there was nothing else. Well, there's nothing else that Henry could have done. But for Arthur, that was certainly like a knee-jerk reaction. And then like realizing, oh my gosh, what have I done? And doing that. Absolutely. Horsick then says, fly on. Lovers, first flub of this line in 230 episodes. It's not. First flub maybe on video when I can't edit it, but don't worry, I've flubbed it before. So I guess the lesson here is if you want Stella to give a Batgirls issue a great review, remove all of the dialogue and make it a silent issue. And then smiley face emoticon, maybe. But those are hard to write. And it's all on, which I talked about that. It's all on the artist, and you have to be intentional about everything and make it absolutely clear because you are showing and not telling. And so I feel like that was the hardest issue to write, and it was the most powerful and the best but here we are. And then Donovan says, I both agree and disagree with your take on Batgirl's 15. The fact of it is, and this stems from books I haven't read either, Arthur Brown was very strongly stated to have big time died, then brought back wrongly by the Lazarus Pit. Like, the point is made that he is not in his right mind and his character is totally off his rocker throughout the story. I agree that he's written wildly different, but the writers have a cheat in that he's meant to be. Steph doesn't bring this up because she's always hated her dad, which is where my disagreement comes from, and that we were denied some representation of a quote loving relationship. In all my days, I've never seen anything of the sort between these two or from these two, with Steph's entire reason for being spoiler and later Batgirl being a rejection of her father. That's what she and Cassandra have in common, but in comparison, David Keane's love for Cass is far more complex, and that it's objectively abusive, but not intentionally. Ian Miller can write me up on this if I get it wrong, but in Robin number 15 through 16, if I recall correctly, Arthur Brown told Robin that Stephanie had been kidnapped by his enemies, but it turned out to be a trap by Brown himself, and he and his goons organized the kidnapping. He's not a good guy. I never said he was a good guy. But I did say that he never physically harmed her. But that's not what you were arguing. Your point is the insane uptick in violence he inflicts upon Stephanie, and I understand the disconnect. I think the writers, or the powers that be, wanted a two-dimensional good guy, bad guy face-off and made Crewmaster as deranged as they could just to make Steph more sympathetic and heroic. For me, it rings too easy, not contending with the complicated feelings they have towards each other, and that Brown isn't a psychopath. He was legitimately cured of his obsession with clues and just became a blue collar villain akin to the Flash's rogues. Having him be all wacky here with crazy smiles, electrodes, and such is too unsubtle to properly reflect their history. I get how they got there, but I also see it as cheating, which that seems to be the word of the day with people saying these cheats. My biggest question about this issue was that the apparent lack of body armor on Batgirl's costumes. I know you went off on this during Cassandra's early series, but in 2023, they seriously don't have anything shielding their chests. Did Barbara not think to add that? I kept doing a double take when I got to that part. It's hard to buy in this day and age. I agree with you there, Babs. Oh well, maybe Stefan Cassandra will kill in the next arc, and then he does some shruggins. Yes. And then I think, did someone respond to him? And then I don't know. Oh, oh, okay. Maybe because Sandra and Steph will kill, he meant it as kiss, which boy, are we getting close. I will talk about that, in fact. But I'm going to take a break before that happens. When I come back, I will cover, and thank you. Thank you for writing in. If you post on YouTube, I get a ping. I also check those, and you can always write in to batgirltheoracle@gmail.com. But yes, I am going to take a break. When I come back, I will go through some modern quickies featuring Nightwing and then do a full review of Batgirl's number 16. So we are 4 and counting until oh my gosh. What am I going to do? I won't have any modern tales. The episodes will be half as long. Oh my word. But anyways, I'm going to take a break. And we're going to do some Zayas's Radio Hour, and it is featuring Monster by Imagine Dragons. See you soon.